Everybody, thanks very much for coming tonight. Tonight we have another formal discussion over. What was that? Tonight we are having a discussion between Otangelo and Brainbug, or Brian as we like to call him, and we are going to be discussing the necessity of a creator. Everybody, thanks very much for coming tonight. Tonight we have another formal. Has somebody got the stream running in the background?
I do, but it's muted.
I just resolved it. I'm sorry, I muted it.
Okay. Right. All audio issues aside. Thought we were doing well. Tonight we have Otangelo and we have Brian. They're going to be discussing the necessity of a creator and whether a creator is necessity for everything we have around us. And I'm going to be as quiet as I can. Both people here should usually be respectful. I know Otangelo gives as good as he gets, and Brian's a nice enough guy, so we should be all right here. Does anybody have a preference? Otangelo, would you like to go first? Brian, would you like to go first? We should have discussed this off screen, but Brian was late as always on a Thursday, working to 11. This is just,
Stupid job. They should just pay me. They should pay me to do this. They should pay me to talk to you and Otangelo all the time.
Otangelo, would you like to have
a I didn't prepare anything, as we agreed on that it wouldn't be necessary.
Yeah.
So I think we can straight ahead go to have a conversation. And I mean,
well, if you want to read something from your cat's board, that's fine with me. If you want to read an excerpt from that on whatever the basis you're okay.
Perfect. Right.
I prefer to do that during our conversation. Maybe there is something coming up which I want to read something, and then I put it on the screen.
Okay.
All right.
And I didn't really have an opening statement per se. I just kind of threw, I guess it is kind of an opening statement. It's not really an argument though. But does it give us something to start with?
Yeah,
so
go with that.
I want to lay it out and then you respond to it. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Throughout human history, God has been shown to be directly responsible for exactly zero observed phenomenon. Only natural causes have ever been demonstrated to be the underlying cause for the world as we experience it today. I have little doubt that Otangelo fully and without question accepts the naturalistic explanation provided by researchers through the same caliber of inductive methodology used to build the top contending models for the current state of our universe. While both myself and Otangelo are laymen in the field, I certainly could not give an in-depth assessment of the calculations nor present an equation that were used to build these individual models. These are in the very capable hands of physicists, astrophysicists, mathematicians, and dozens of other experts working in tandem to build functioning and predictive models. I'm not one of these experts with my hands in the construction, but I am fortunate enough to call some of them friends. People of scientific integrity that Otangelo would never dare to question had their model not disagreed with his favorite book. Unsurprisingly, missing from these models is that of an intelligent creator, a being by necessity vastly more complex than the universe it is credited for creating. A creator that is asserted to retain traits that cannot be demonstrated. I anticipate an appeal to causality, an argument that cannot be demonstrated to function outside of a temporal framework. The infamous first premise of the Kalam, or the hand that wound the clock, relies solely on the unfalsified assertions regarding the cosmos beyond the universe's current states. Causality, as it currently stands, is an incoherent proposition outside of Planck time. As such, the only reasonable answer to each and every inquiry of the cosmos beyond the current state is that we just don't know. All right.
Otangelo, have you anything to say?
Okay. So answering to these, I wrote down here 4 points. No empirical evidence for God. I am not an expert. God is not complex, and causality is incoherent. Okay. So
just real quick before you dig into it, I said we are not experts, so neither one of us are experts. I think you can agree to that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm no expert. I have no formal education in regards of any scientific fields. I'm a machine designer, so yeah. So, answering to the 4 points, Brian, first thing that you said is there is no empirical evidence for God. I think that this is a very common seen requirement of atheists, that we as theists demonstrate that God exists. They want a demonstrable evidence that God is actually existing. And I think we both agree that there is no empirical proof or evidence whatsoever that God exists. But there is no empirical proof either that the material world is all there is. And for that reason, I adopt two basic epistemological arguments. And the one is abductive reasoning to the best explanation. And the second is eliminative inductions. That means since there is a true dichotomy, either there is a God or there is no God, then one of the two propositions must be true. And if one is demonstrably false, then the other must be logically be true. So in regards of an expert, no, I'm no expert either, but I think this is something which I am seeing frequently being asked in a debate. Oh, what is your expertise? What credentials do you have? And I think that today, and I see that more even acknowledged by scientists than by laymen, we have fantastic access to information through the internet. And so we can educate ourselves. And sometimes we as laymen, we can, if we have time, educate ourselves even better than people that have a degree or some kind of university education. So I think that this is not a parameter to say someone is knowledgeable or not because someone has a degree. Okay, so in regards of God is not complex, I disagree, because God is not a physical entity, God is a spiritual entity. And since he has no physical parts, he is actually a simple entity. And that doesn't mean that he can have complex thoughts and that he cannot instantiate complex things. And the last point, causality is incoherent. Well, I think that that's not true. We have never seen the law of cause and effect being broken, and everything that begins to exist has been demonstrated to have a cause. And I mean, if you think that it is an incoherent concept, then, well, be my guest and show me something that started to exist from absolutely nothing, and then you can actually make that claim.
Okay. I'll start with causality, since that was the most recent thing that you said there.
Okay.
So I didn't say causality is incoherent. Maybe he said like my intro kind of cut off there a little bit, so I don't know if you missed it, but I said causality is incoherent outside of a temporal framework. Would you agree that we've never seen cause and effect function outside of time?
Yes, I have an answer to that. Of course, the question is, if there was no time, how could God have instantiated the physical universe?
Not just God, any kind of cause.
I will not even
any kind of cause and effect at all.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I won't even quote to respond to that, but the basic answer to that is that cause and effect can happen actually simultaneously. So there is no requirement of time.
Could you demonstrate that, please? Cause and effect.
No, but I can. No, but I can.
So we're just asserting that. Okay.
I can quote actually from where I have that. Okay. So this is from William Lane Craig. He says God must be causally but not temporally prior to the Big Bang. With the creation of the universe, time began, and God entered into time at the moment of creation in virtue of his real relations with the created order. It follows that God must therefore be timeless without the universe and temporal with the universe. I mean, as long as this doesn't cause some kind of logical problem, then I see no problem with that.
Well, I mean, it does cause it. Well, at least for me, it causes a logical problem. And maybe you could, because you have actions, you have causes and effects happening outside of time. That just sounds incoherent to me. And William Lane Craig's incoherent about it as well. I disagree with him about that concept as well.
Well,
Most physicists.
I can give you an example, and I thought about that. How can somebody have sequential thoughts in a timeless realm? But I think, for example, if you go to sleep and you dream, then you wake up in the morning, and someone asks you how much time has passed in the interval since you went to sleep and when you woke up in the morning. And probably you will not be able to answer, because we do not have a sense of time as when we are up during the day. So what does that mean? It means that I can have actually dreams in a sequential order, but without experiencing time. Now, let's suppose that you have a nightmare, and that has happened many times to me, that I was dreaming a nightmare, and then I wanted to flee from that situation. And what happened? I made some kind of effort and I woke up. So I actually caused, during my dream, a physical event. I woke up.
Okay.
So
I'll agree. Dreams are metaphysical. That's what we're taking away from that. But they exist temporally. Is that kind of what we're getting at? That our dreams are metaphysical. They don't adhere to our time frame, but they do have a temporal framework that they're working within. Is that what I'm understanding?
I'll say like this. Of course, you can counter argue and say, well, while you are sleeping and dreaming, time is passing, and that I agree with that. But we are talking about the mental state. So if we suppose that my body was not there sleeping, but in my mental state, I can have sequential events in my dream, and I can actually cause a physical event when I flee from a nightmare and I wake up. So somehow I make a parallel, and through that I can understand that it eventually is possible that God exists in a metaphysical or supernatural state, in a mental state without the universe, and there he wishes to instantiate the universe and causes a physical effect, which is the beginning of the Big Bang.
So in your cosmology, is the universe that we exist in and we experience today, is it a part of God? Is the world as we experience it part of God, like your dream is part of you, like it's happening in your mind? Is that, I'm just trying to kind of gauge where we are. I know nobody's ever asked you about that. I'd like to delve into that a little bit.
No, I think that God, he is separate to the physical universe, to his creation, but he is above, but at the same time he transcends the physical universe in the sense that he can be at everywhere at the same time. He knows everything. He is omniscient.
Okay, let me try to rephrase my question, because your answer is fine for the question that it maybe sound like I was asking. But okay, so is our universe happening like in God's head, like, or is it like I'm like this computer is to me, that it's outside of me, but I'm controlling it?
No, I think it's outside of God's head, and he is just knowing what happens inside of the universe. It is the universe is separate to God's mind.
Okay. So our universe, something he created separate from himself, and he's in the cosmos. Where is God if he's outside the universe? Where?
I think he is in a higher dimension, which is not accessible to us, and at the same time he transcends the universe.
Okay, so
in the sense that he is he knows everything that happens inside of the universe. Okay. He's everywhere, basically. With his mind, he's everywhere. He knows everything.
But, and you made some statements about when you were going through your list, you said that God is a spiritual being.
Yes.
What is a spiritual being?
I think that the mind is separate from the physical body. I am not a monist.
I
I am a
know you're a
dualist.
dualist, and I understand that. So, is the spiritual being? So the being exists outside of without a mind? I don't know. Is that demonstrable? Can we? Is there a situation where we would have something in our world that we could compare that to the concept of a God existing outside? So I've heard people make the assertion that it's like we existed like the characters in a computer don't question the existence of of the programmer, but the programmer, we know the programmer is a physical person, right? So you're saying this programmer is not a physical person. I want to know why and what we're basing that on.
Well, I would say that we have many testimonies of people which have had NDE experience where they have left their physical body and they saw their body from up, and they even changed the rooms where the body was laying while they were physically dead, and they went to other rooms, and when they went back to the physical body, then they described precisely objects which they saw distant from their physical body. And there are some scientific investigators in regards of these NDEs, and there are books out there, and there are many science papers as well in regards of these issues.
Yeah.
So,
I'm on the perspective. We get callers talking about out of body experiences all the time, and so I could grant, and I don't, but I could grant that humans have souls. I don't, but I could, and that still would not explain anything to me about the God, about the Creator. So you're basing your inference that God has no physical body just on the fact that humans have out-of-body experiences or report out-of-body experiences, or is there more? Is there something more?
That demonstrates that it is possible. That's the point. If God today is in
sorry, go ahead.
If God is in heaven today and actually has a supernatural body or not, that is another issue. But I think the key point here is that these experiments demonstrate that it is possible for the mind to leave the physical body and actually to exist without the physical body. That is the key point.
Again, granting that they're human souls and they're attached to the person, do we actually have evidence that they can exist beyond that? Because every case of an out-of-body experience that I'm familiar with, the person wakes up and goes back into their body, so to speak. So we don't know that if the physical, granting the premise that there is a soul and that their soul is leaving the body, that still doesn't demonstrate that if that body dies, that soul is still allowed to roam. I mean, unless you want to get into ghost stories, which I don't think that's what we came here to talk about. But
of course. I mean, if you grant that it is possible actually the soul to exist without the physical body, then there is no logical problem to believe that our life doesn't end with the physical ending, that our soul actually continues to exist.
It's a big
I mean, this is what the Bible reveals to us, and either you take that on faith or you don't. Now, Matt asked, what's a supernatural body? Well, the Bible describes that there are bodies which are different than our body. I mean, when Christ resurrected, he appeared to his disciples. He went through walls and appeared to them in the room, going through closed doors.
Which gospel is that?
Jesus Christ, when he resurrected.
Which gospel is that from, though?
Oh, I don't know in which of the four gospels, but you can read about it. So he basically had a supernatural body which appeared to the apostles. He appeared to many people, and before he went up to heaven. So that's of course that's a faith claim, something that we take on faith.
Robbie, are you taking down questions?
I've asked everybody
can't
to
hear ya.
wait until the end to the questions and answer section for
We can't hear you, Robbie.
Oh. If you want, I can post them in the chat and we can answer them as we go along, or we can do questions and answers.
He started pulling questions from the audience, and I thought, well, if
that's all right, because I did ask everyone to wait until the end, but I didn't want to distract people. But if you're happy enough, I'll pull them from the audience and I'll post them in the private chat. So if people do want to ask questions, then
you want to tag you or Dave?
Oh, just tag me. No, tag me or Dave. Someone will post them in the live chat.
All right.
If I can, while I have control of the
that way, Otangelo's not distracting. He can focus on the conversation that we're having.
If I can, when I do have control of the mic, if I can say thank you very much to Critical Cripple for the super chat. Does Otangelo think his God has any impact on the physical world today?
Absolutely. I believe in miracles. Yes. I believe in answers of prayers, as I have experienced many times. And I have seen many with my own eyes. I have seen demons being expelled in the name of Jesus Christ.
All right. Let's. So we got the last 2 points. What were the first two again? I'm sorry. I tried to take them down, but I had a lot going on over here. So you had. So we talked about the spiritual body of God. That I guess that you are building that framework upon out-of-body experience reports. So, and then we talked about causality. You had some William Lane Craig. What were the first two, though?
Just a moment, I wrote them down. First one was no empirical evidence for God, that we are no experts, God is not complex, and causality is incoherent.
Okay. As far as the weird no experts thing, I was on the same page as you. We are both demonstrating that you can do research and look into any field of science as a layperson and collect all kinds of information. So I'm on the same page as you. I don't think that that's a good goalpost. My point that I was making about the physicists, astrophysicists, and mathematicians is that they actually do the equations. And it's the same as like what you have on your CATS board out there, that you take people's research and you kind of compile it together. That's what I do as well. And that's what I was appealing to, is that my position is not based upon my own observations or my own inferences of the data. I depend on people to look at it from. I depend on people, astrophysicists, physicists, like Manda, people like that. That's who I bring my equations to. So I was not in any way trying to disparage you as, you don't have any expertise to be talking about this.
No, I know. I know that you didn't make that kind of accusation, let's say, or kind of point, so I understood that.
Okay. All right. And the first one was, I'm sorry, I keep making you repeat on what was the first one?
Yeah, maybe I can answer to that. I think the evidence and what science has unraveled to us, that is the same, and we have the same access. That's what the world is. I think what differentiates us is what do we make out of the information? How do we, what inference do we make based on what we observe in the natural world? And that's I think that's the philosophical circle around science, where materialists or physicists or people that believe that the existence is without a creator, they believe that everything that we see around us is possible to exist or to have come to be without intelligence, while we as intelligent design proponents and creationists and believers, we think that an intelligence, an ordering principle at the beginning of everything was required to instantiate the physical universe.
Okay, so I know that you're familiar with so you like you were talking about abductive reasoning a moment ago, but you're familiar with inductive reasoning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You understand that our models are built on inductive reasoning for again, with the physical world, for a material explanation or physical explanation for the observable universe. That is all we've ever observed as an answer to these types of inquiries. So to basically it's that we are taking the information that we've received and building. It's the same thing that like in ecology that we build schematics for population density and stuff on. We build these models based on what we observe in multiple fields and put it together. It's not just we saw redshift, so therefore the universe is old. It's redshift, it's geology, it's cosmology, it's genetics. We have all these different fields that inform us of the general age of the universe in its current state. And you disagree with that in all those fields.
Well, I think we have to make an important distinction here, Brian. First of all, operational science tries to investigate what actually is. So if you see, like, let's say a protein, then science tries to understand what's the function of that protein. But the problem with creationism or with intelligent design is that if we are talking about events that happened in the past as unique events, then we cannot make testable predictions and models and test them. We cannot put God in a test tube and see if he operates and does again what happened in the past when life was created. So that is an argument which I've seen where some people say, well, intelligent design isn't science because it doesn't make testable predictions and it cannot be tested. But the thing is that whatever happened in the past and is a unique event, the same problem goes also to those which propose that just natural mechanisms suffice, because abiogenesis researchers, they also don't know exactly what the conditions were back when life started. So we have, both sides have the same limitations actually. So what we can do is see how things work and then try to understand what mechanism explains best what we observe in the natural world. And is intelligence actually required or a better explanation to explain what we've unraveled, in special on the molecular and biochemical level? I think this is a key issue here. And it is, in my understanding, it's important that we try, in order to find the best explanations, that we look where there is the best clear distinction that can be made. And I think that abiogenesis, for example, is a very good investigative field, because there you have an evolution, despite some claim that there was Darwinian evolution. But I disagree with that, because some conditions are required in order for you to have Darwinian evolution, and one is DNA replication.
Hold on. What was? Did you say Darwinian evolution? Is there a difference between Darwinian evolution and just evolution?
Well, you can say just evolution, whatever. I mean, we have today a very much expanded,
right?
Yeah, we have today a very much expanded understanding, and since Darwin's time, the theory has expanded and incorporated the new mechanisms and so forth. But all these new mechanisms, like epigenetic mechanisms, which also we know they play a role in organismal building, all this was not extant when life started. Prior or before DNA replication and life started, these evolutionary mechanisms basically were not around. So there
were still the pressures, though. All evolution is just reproductive responses. Well, at the base of it, there's other factors that come into play, but reproductive responses to environmental pressures. Even at the very first life forms would have been subject to environmental pressures. Wouldn't you agree that there would have been environmental changes? Even unexpected ones that just to say that the earliest life forms, I imagine as we learn more about them, we're going to see a lot of dead ends, because getting to where we are now, we see a lot of dead ends already, and the further back they go, the more dead ends we see. So we do see that natural selection, as far back as we can look in the fossil record, has always been a factor.
Well, the thing is, you said replication, but I mean, prior to DNA replication, there was no replication. That is something that had also to emerge, and you know how complex that DNA replication is and how many proteins are involved, and that was not there. Of course, you can say that in the RNA world there was replication, but this is something which has not been substantiated. This is something which has been claimed in the 80s, but we know that it is empirically, it has not been demonstrated that RNA can self-replicate.
It has on clay. I know you know that. I've seen you talk to multiple people around it. We're not going to get into that though.
Okay.
We could have, but that would have been a fun topic too. We also talked about, just for everybody out there, we also talked about doing dinosaurs and man, which I thought sounded way funner than this, but Otangelo wanted to talk about the necessity of a creator, so here we are. Let us know if you'd like to see that discussion though, because I would like to have it. I like talking about dinosaurs. So back to the creation of the universe, because when we discussed this, what actually triggered this and made me reach out to MathPig to host this was that you said that you would show me or tell me the mechanism by which God created the universe. I want to know what that mechanism is.
Yeah, you asked me that sometimes back in the chat, and I responded to that, and I say, well, we don't know how the interface mind-body actually functions. We know it does function because, I mean, I can think about moving my arm, and then I can give the command to my arm and the muscles and the nerves and everything, and then my arm is moving. So we see that actually happening. We have empirical experience that minds and thoughts can instantiate a physical response and action. So that basically tells me that there is nothing that hinders me or hinders God actually to instantiate a physical action through his mind. Now, how that actually happens, that is a question which we do not have an answer to that, but I don't see why I should have actually an answer to that question, Brian, in order to say that it can happen, because we know by our own experience that interaction mind-body actually occurs. Cool. It happens.
I like this. I like where we're going. Now, my wife, she has cerebral palsy. So part of her physical therapy is that she goes into this doctor and he takes these rods and sticks them into her legs, like into her skin, right? And it measures the because cerebral palsy is a nerve issue. So sometimes her brain sends signals to her body, like you were talking about, and her body doesn't respond. Not only can we can measure that, we can control that. So if we're going to make the comparison that God is working and creating things in a similar way, how do we measure it?
Well, as I said, I mean, I take it by faith that it is possible and that we cannot measure it actually. So I know that it is possible, but I can. I mean, it's the same as to ask. You give an answer, and then you make another question in regards of that answer. And when I give that answer, then you can make another one, and that gives you an infinite regress, and you will never end. So I think I do not have an explanation of the explanation in order for an explanation to be the best explanation.
I'm so disappointed in that explanation, Otangelo. You have no idea. I kind of anticipated it, though. But we didn't go down the Kalam, which is good. I was kind of prepared for that. But that's good. I don't want to deal with the Kalam if I don't have to. I know you did reference William Lane Craig, but I know we got a lot of questions here. Do you want to go ahead and start on the questions, Robbie?
They have been posting like crazy.
Unless there's, I know I've been kind of grilling you about this. Unless you had questions for me.
No, we have questions. We have questions for days.
Oh, I was going to let Otangelo, because it's like this whole time I've been like, oh, what about this? What about that? Asking him all these questions. He hasn't asked me anything.
If you want to do that.
Well, a question which I very frequently make to atheists, and to which I've never actually received an answer which I would say is consistent is how can we exist without a creator?
How can we exist without a creator? We are biological organisms. Everything that, and I know this is going to sound disappointing to you, everything that you are and everything about you, everything that goes on in your head, all the stuff that you've stored up and learned throughout your life is all right there in your body, and it's going to die when you die. There's no spirit or anything. It's all brain chemistry responding to different social cues in your environment. You are an animal, and you are responding to the same stimulation that all the other animal kingdom responds to. That's kind of the crux of it, is that everybody wants to be say, well, humans are special. We're really not. We're really smart, and we are special to the extent that that all animals have some kind of speciality that allows them to survive and flourish in their niche, and that's a beautiful thing. But we've evolved from simpler and simpler organisms all the way back to I am a supporter of the RNA first world, as you referenced. I don't make any assertion that that's how it started. That's what looks like the best model for me. Kind of like with the with cosmology, I do generally adhere to the Big Bang model and don't make any kind of inference of what happened before that. But hopefully that answers your question to some degree.
Well, I was not necessarily asking about us as humans, but I was more questioning in regards of existence in a more general way, like asking why is there something rather than nothing?
I think that the existence as we experience it is just kind of a brute fact. I don't really have an answer for that. There's no why, it just is.
Okay.
Okay.
Question that I have
that's
next.
That's basically a
a what?
We've lost your audio there, Otangelo.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go on ahead.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, so that's basically not an answer, because a brute fact requires an answer as well. And I mean, if I am asking, how can we? I mean, this entails many questions, and of course, in just an hour or two in a chat like ours, all these issues cannot be adequately addressed. I agree with you on that, but I mean, my question entails to find answers to all relevant fields in regards of origins, and I can list them quickly. It would be in regards of the origin of the universe, the laws of physics, the fine-tuning, the origin of stars, the origin of the planet Earth, which is finely tuned, the origin of life, biodiversity, why there is consciousness and moral values, why we have moral values.
We don't have answers to.
Yeah, so this is a whole field, several fields, so scientific fields, philosophy fields, and all these issues, of course, they require an answer. And I mean, if you hold the view that the material world alone, without the creator at the bottom, is a better explanation, then you have to substantiate this. And if you just say, oh, it's just a brute fact, or what I often see...
What do you mean I have to substantiate it? I don't follow you there. Why do I have to substantiate it?
In the sense, if you want to justify your view that the material physical world is all there is, and that it is a better explanation of our existence compared to
I say that, just to reiterate, I say that that's all we have evidence of. I don't say that that's all there is. I just don't make any claims at all about it beyond that.
Yeah, okay, so this is something which I always see frequently as well, when an atheist answers like this and says, oh, but we have evidence that the physical world exists. Okay, we have evidence, but that leads us to two possible explanations. One is that an intelligent creator instantiated the physical world, and the other is that no creator instantiated the physical world. It is not by default
Well, that's
that
a false
we call
dichotomy,
the
though, 'cause
physical world.
why couldn't multiple creators have substantiated the world, or a creator of a different nature that created the world from itself and doesn't exist anymore? There's so many different options other than just a creator that's, sticking their hand in the pie.
Yeah. Well, I agree that there could be multiple gods,
Right.
of course. That's not, but I would say basically we can divide two buckets. In one, there is a god or gods or multiple gods, millions of gods, whatever you want to say, which gods in the bucket there are gods at the bottom of reality. And in the other bucket, there is the no god hypothesis and all kind of worlds which you want to say, like the multiverse, whatever you say. That is the world where no intelligence is at the bottom of reality. So we have basically just these two options, and you can, all the subcategories, you can put them either in one or the other. Either there is a god or gods or not. That's it. So if you hold to the view that a god or gods are not required to explain our existence, then if you want to actually say this is a rational view, then you have to substantiate it, and you have to say why you think that no god is sufficient to explain our existence. And that's why what I said previously, I've never seen actually an atheist give good answers, a rational answer or compelling answers to that question.
This is it's an odd question, because why it implies that there's a reason. The world as we know it, the world as we experience it as humans is just exactly that. It's our description of what we experience around us. So the why the world exists
maybe not,
is subjective.
Let me interrupt you. Maybe not why, but how.
How? Okay, well, in how, that's the route that we just kind of ran down. From, of course, we get the Big Bang model.
If I can just say, another 5-10 minutes of discussion. We have got such a list of questions. We are going to be here all night. So another 5-10 minutes of questions.
And I'm doing an after party, and you can come, both of you guys. So if we want to continue this conversation there, we can go ahead and start taking questions.
Yeah,
Is that
I was going to say that after party on Brian's channel. The link is in the description. If anybody of the mods is decent enough, they can throw it in the private or in the live chat there for everyone else who's too lazy to look in the description. But yeah, you boys keep talking, and I'll shout back again in a wee while, and we'll get questions and answers going. So if anyone wants questions answered, please do put them in the live chat now. Tag Dave, tag Manda, tag myself, and we will get to that question as soon as we can.
Okay, so where were we? We were talking about I don't remember where we were.
How can you explain our existence without a creator or intelligence at the bottom of reality?
Which part of our existence? Because I would on all of them, there's naturalistic processes which we're looking at, from the Big Bang to abiogenesis.
Abiogenesis is a favorite topic of mine, and I like it because, as I said previously, you can make a very clear distinction, because there are basically just two mechanisms which we can claim to be involved eventually in the instantiation of life. And one is intelligence, which is what I propose, and the alternative, I would say, are just stochastic, unguided, random chemical reactions on prebiotic Earth, which somehow had to organize the elements and then make the first self-replicating cell. And I think, since you follow all these discussions, the problems involved in this.
Yeah, well, I know the arguments that you present, and I don't necessarily disagree with you that there are gaps in our knowledge and things that we don't understand, but that's always been that's always been prevalent. That's always been present in all our innovations. There was a time where things like electricity. Sorry, my dog's yapping. I'm sorry if everybody can hear that. But there was a time where things like electricity were attributed to supernatural forces because we didn't understand them. Earthquakes, things like that we didn't understand, and we attributed either to God or to some other supernatural source. Only later we find out there's naturalistic causes, and that's always been the case. It's never worked the other way around. It's never worked just straightforward that we found the answer to this and it's supernatural. So and again, that's kind of a black swan fallacy to say that since we've never seen it and we can't do abiogenesis in a lab, that it means that it's impossible, because there was a time where we couldn't do electricity in a lab.
Yeah, that is an answer which I have heard several times, the black swan fallacy. Now, if I would ask you, do you expect eventually to find a green swan which likes Gucci clothes and which its eggs are Fabergé eggs? So would you think this is a reasonable expectation, because we've never seen a swan like this, that eventually one day we will find one which
in the multiverse
yeah, but I think you get where I'm going. Yeah. I mean, you cannot make unreasonable expectations in regards of things that never have been seen happening. So in regards of the origin of life, I mean, the more that science has unraveled, and just saying, oh, we don't have yet all the answers, but science one day will find answers and they will be naturalistic ones. This is basically a materialism of the gaps.
That's a misrepresentation.
I mean, I think that
what we see is that, like I was just going through the list, all these things that every time we've looked for an answer and found an answer and we're able to find an answer, it's been naturalistic. So it is actually, that's why, what's the difference between God of the gaps and naturalism of the gaps? And I'm so sorry about my freaking dog. God of the gaps is putting something we've never seen in a place as an explanation for something we don't understand. Naturalism of the gap, as you coined there, is simply just inductive reasoning that these are the way we've experienced the world in the past, and so that is what we have to base our inferences on when we look and examine and make observations and hypothesis, and that's naturalism. So to call something naturalism of the gaps, I mean, would a naturalistic explanation for lightning have been naturalism of the gaps before we knew what was the cause of it? What about a volcano? Was that naturalism of the gas before we understood tectonics and the geology of the Earth?
No, but if we come back to the origin of life, you know that you require a genome with lots of instructional assembly information to make the cell, its operation, how it works, and everything. And
5-minute warning on the open discussion. 5-minute warning.
We have never seen that kind of information. We have never seen instructional information to emerge by unguided events. And we know only.
What do you mean by? Hold on. What do you mean by instructional?
Okay, I am a machine designer, and if someone comes and tells me, make a machine for that specific purpose, then I will sit down, I will try to figure out how that machine has to be made. I'll go to the problem solving, and once I have figured that out, then I will make a blueprint, a drawing, and once all the specification has been made about the size, about the subunits, the materials, how it works, how it rotates, and so forth, then that blueprint goes to the factory, and the factory workers, they can instantiate the physical object and make basically what is in the blueprint. And that is an analogy to
if I can just say this is an entire conversation that is exploding rather than the questions. This is definitely something that should be noted down for the after party.
Okay. Can I just do one response?
Yeah,
and then
respond
we'll
very quickly if you can, Brian, but this will just explode into another conversation best for the after party.
Okay, so when you blueprint your machines, assuming that you're making this comparison with, so are you informing the materials of how they're supposed to interact? Are you telling the steel it has to hold up and be rigid? You say that we're gonna prescribe these traits to this material and then build a machine out of it, or are you using materials in a way, as they exist, in a way to create a structure that functions?
Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Okay, so are you prescribing the materials, telling every material what it does, and building the machine and having the machine built that way?
Yeah, you're required that you need that.
Or are you using machines that already have properties and to use those properties in order to make the machine function?
Well, it depends. Sometimes you make a project of a machine which requires other machines to make that machine. Like I give you an example. Let's suppose you make a 3D printer, and that 3D printer has 50 subunits which have to be worked together, which you have to assemble together. So maybe that subunit also requires a machine in order to be made in a serial production. So you have not only to describe the subunit of that 3D printer, but you have also to eventually describe the machines which then can make that subunit in another factory. So it adds to complexity.
Do you see how that implies an infinite regress for your God hypothesis, just based on what you just said there?
Well, no, actually it is, if we see, for example, in the cell, it is like a circle where you have actually to instantiate everything from the beginning, and when everything is there, it can kickstart and life starts. And that is not the problem for someone that has foresight and can instantiate everything which is required to make a fully autonomous and robot-like factory.
Okay.
That's basically what we see in the cell.
Back to the factory and the machine and the stuff, I think that's a topic for...
Which is a whole other topic, and I do want to have another one of these.
Yeah, we'll definitely bring that up in the after party. Now, we have a lot of questions. If I can just fly through them real quick, let's not... we'll do a couple, just to give everybody a bit of respect, because we did promise questions and answers, and then what we'll do is we will move to the after party, and any questions that have not been answered here will be answered in the after party. So if I can find the spot where all the so many questions. Right. Question for Otangelo. If he could explain necessity and how he has determined that your God is necessary.
Well, first of all,
just explain necessity. That would be quickest, because how God is necessary is the entire debate tonight. So could you just explain necessity?
Yeah. Something cannot come from nothing. That means if we exist, something had to be there always, without a beginning. Since it wasn't the universe, and science points to the fact that the universe had a beginning, then that eternal existence had to be something beyond the physical universe. And I believe that that thing is an eternal, necessary creator which instantiated the universe.
That's perfect, because that sort of follows on to something that I posted in the chat straight after that. So as you said, it's our conclusions on the evidence that we infer from. So our conclusions are based on our presuppositions. So you do presuppose God exists from the get-go.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I can say the universe had a beginning, therefore it must have had a cause. Since something cannot come from absolutely nothing, something eternal without cause must have had existed forever without a beginning, and that is God.
Yes, you do presuppose God. Okay. Question from John Rapp. What are the guests' thoughts on our significance in a universe as absurdly huge as now we know it to be? What is God's reason?
Well, there are reasons
first.
why a life-permitting universe has to be the size it is, and I can put a link in the side chat if you want, and then people can read the link. It's not the format here to go into the minutiae of the scientific reasons for that, but I can do that quickly, and then people can read
post
up
it. If that would be real quick. We want to fly through the
Okay.
questions, so post that in the live chat on Otangelo. That would be fantastic.
What time is it there, Robbie?
Pardon?
What time is it there? Midnight?
Something like that. It's grand. Next question. This is how far back we're going. This is like Dave's actually timestamped this one, so a half an hour's worth of questions we have to fly through. So if Otangelo, post that in the live chat. If I haven't made you a mod, say something in the chat and I will make you a mod so you're able to do that. Next question. Godless Granny. Does Otangelo think that God has DNA? And if not, how can he actually have a physical son?
Well, Christ was physical when he was here on earth, and of course he was fully human, and therefore he had DNA.
Okay.
I have nothing for that.
Quick answer. Appreciating the quick answers. Question from Nerdy Rodent. Which do you believe in other conspiracy theories, Otangelo? Is the world flat as well, and is it 6,000 years old?
Well, I don't like it when you put both together in the same bucket, but yes, I'm a young earth creationist, but I don't believe that the earth is flat.
Okay, question from Ricardo. What is operational science?
It investigates how things work in nature. Like for example, if you see a new protein which you don't know its function, then you investigate how it operates, how it works, how it functions. That's basically operational science.
Carlton Winston asks, what does any of this have to do with the necessity of a creator?
Well, what is she referring to?
I think he's talking about you
mean
going
with
down
this?
the line of abiogenesis and trying to disprove it have to do with the fact that a creator is necessary for creation. I think the point that he was pointing out was the fact that you've shown that you don't believe in what Brian believes. You have debunked it, but you haven't shown an actual, this is why a creator must be necessary for actual creation.
Well, of course, you can say aliens eventually seeded life here on Earth. That would be a possible explanation if solely natural explanations are not sufficient. But then you have to ask where these aliens came from. So that isn't a sufficient explanation then.
Yeah, but
either.
the point, if I can make a point, and then we'll go back to the questions, is you're saying that aliens could have done this and could have done that. The point I'm saying is, how can you show that aliens were needed, were must, that they had to have done that? You know, it's...
Well, that goes into the question why abiogenesis without...
Let's not.
Yeah.
Lots of questions. Do I have any
questions?
Yes, because we're on the questions and answers section, and this is what a mod does. He keeps us on track. Where does Otangelo think dinosaurs went? Do you believe that they are real? And Manda usually doesn't listen to you.
Oh, yes, I believe they were real, and I think that they were extinct with Noah's flood.
What about dragons from later Bible stories, like St. George, for instance?
Well, I think dragons maybe are dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Question from Aaron Charitier. Do you think your worldview could have been shaped from routine and habit, Otangelo?
From what?
Routine and habit.
Mine absolutely was, just for the record.
I was just thinking that question could have been answered by both, and just Brian's got a quick answer. Yes. What do you think, Otangelo?
Routine and habit, that I don't scrutinize my own worldview in that sense, or what?
Do you think that your presupposition that we're taking it as a presupposition just for the context of this question. Do you think that exists because of your routine and your habit of growing up and always having it around and being there?
Well,
Brian's an atheist from birth and never had it around him. And quick
well,
answer.
I don't think that any one of us is completely unbiased, and I am biased, of course,
Yes.
too. So I admit that, and I mean, I try to be as truthful as possible to myself, because at the end of everything, it is my life, and if I hold to a false worldview, then I will be the most harmed by that. So, of course, I want to know what is real, what is true. So,
Okay. Yeah.
I try to remove bias as much as possible.
Good.
But
Good
I'm
answer.
not
I appreciate
unbiased.
that. I appreciate that. I don't know how much it's true for most people, but I appreciate you at least saying it. Question from Kafefi. I think it's towards brainbug. How do you know consciousness blinks out when you die? Has brainbug died, experienced the nothingness of death, and come back to let us all know what happens?
No, I haven't. That is inductive reasoning that we were talking about. So if you can show me some evidence otherwise, I'll be happy to say call. To call the perspective to talk to me if you want to talk to me about the afterlife. I'm on there every other Tuesday. So yeah, but I do want to have that conversation with you. It'd be fun, and we can talk about some other stuff you'd like to talk about too. Now that Ethan's been inducted into that, so we can delve into it. So call.
Question from Ox, who has been a member of the channel for a month now. Thanks everybody who does donate to the channel, super chats, members, Patreon, everything. It all does go towards really, really helping out the channel, and everything gets bigger and better. We've now got a stream deck and stuff like that there, which I fucked up earlier. I'm learning, but it all goes towards helping the setup get better, the production get better, and give us reach to try and host and do things like this and make it look the way it does and stuff like that there. So question from Ox for Otangelo, surprisingly. If there could be creation without a creator, and could your God just be a mistaken identity of the universe by man?
Well, I mean, that would entail that everything came by chance, and I don't think that chance has sufficient power to instantiate what we see around us.
Anything you want to add to that, Brian? No? You're happy enough? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Iron Charioteer asks, if God is all-powerful, why would he create something as basic as a hydrogen atom?
Well, because it's required in order to have the more complex things.
It adds upon it. Yeah. Question from Mr. Burr. Do you have evidence for a miracle outside of personal experience?
Well, just what I hear and what I read.
That would be.
I mean, the Bible itself is full of descriptions of miracles.
Yeah, claims. Lots of claims.
Miracles, so.
Lots of claims. Question from Dargendorp. Big fan of Dargendorp. I am personally. Man helps an awful lot out. Everything that we do get for the channel, Dargendorp jumps in and gives it his signature and helps out with the computer system. He's also helped out Brian set up his channel and stuff like that as well. Awful lot of love for Dargendorp going back since
Great for the
community. This is not going to be a one-word answer, and I'm just going to ask the question and feel free to laugh. But it's Otangelo. Can you tell us more about demons? Where do they live? Where do they hang out? Do they exercise? Do they eat? What's their average lifespan?
Well, they are spiritual beings. I think they are fallen angels, and we can see that happening, that they exist, in special through demon possession. This is something which has been reported through all ages, and we see that happening today. So, I mean, people can ridicule these things, but I see them as real. And I have experienced real demon possession and people being possessed, and also the power of the name of Jesus. And these demons, they leave when the name of Jesus is invoked. So this is, in my worldview, and what I believe, this is real. This is not just fantasy or so.
If I could shout out to Never Again, another member of the channel who has brilliant, and sent a super chat. Thank you very much. I can get a beer now. Next question from the Maverick to the atheist. Why do you assume a self-sustaining system that allows numerous life forms to thrive and support each other is not an intelligent design where we are unable to recreate this?
Again, that's the black swan fallacy that because humans can't do it because we've never seen it, because it's not it's something that's possible, but we haven't demonstrated doesn't mean that it'll never be demonstrated. It's that's a fallacy.
Perfect. Next question from best name. Regarding the question on the existence of gods, is it either gods or no gods? You're claiming gods/gods, Otangelo. Therefore, you have the burden of proof. No one else. I think that's more of a statement than a question.
That was best
Well,
name.
Yeah.
Well, I always will provide evidence for what I believe, so no problem for me in regards of that.
Question from a fellow Christian for Otangelo. What does any of your arguments have to do with Jesus, a first century crucified Jew who is God incarnate?
Well, I use, in my dialogue with atheists, a cumulative argument for God's existence, which starts with the first question, is there a God rather than not? Once an atheist admits and acknowledges that the God hypothesis is the better explanation of our existence, then I can move forward and we can figure out which God actually amongst all the myriads of religions that are out there fits best the God, which one is the best evidence-based. And then we can eventually talk about my Christian faith, about Christ, resurrection, and the Bible, if it's trustworthy or not.
Okay. Question for brainbug. What do you think was Otangelo's strongest point tonight, and then his weakest? That's a great question.
Angelo is a good at pointing out the things that we don't know. I won't ever say that that's not true. He does find flaws in or potential flaws in models and in hypotheses. So he is good at that. He's a good. You can put your paper through Otangelo, and he'll tell you if he finds anything. As far as bad arguments, and that's another thing. He'll read the paper too. So I appreciate that. Usually, I don't know. Speed might disagree with me there, but. Again, I'm not a fan of the first premise of the Kalam. I'm just not. So the nothing argument, it falls flat right there for me. So yeah,
okay. Perfect. Next thing is, would Otangelo ever create a structure that had his fuel inputs and waste removal in the exact same space, or would he laugh at someone who made such a dumb design? Mr. Burr, thank you very much for your super chat.
Do you want an answer to that?
Yes.
Well, I think everything that God designs is good design, despite people argue it's not. So, yeah.
Straight to the point. Appreciate it. Next thing, from Spartan Theology again. Can I change his question? Otangelo, does Jesus still have a body? And if so, where is it?
Yes, I think that he has a supernatural body in the spiritual realm in a higher dimension, which we do not have access to right now.
Digital Hammurabi wants to know, thank you very much, Josh, for dropping by. I know you were streaming earlier. What are your credentials to discuss these topics, I assume?
To me, is that to me or to brainbug?
No, that's to you. That's to you.
Oh, no, I'm a machine designer, but as I said right in the beginning, I have no academic credentials, so I'm a layman, basically.
Man, if
Yeah.
you'd
I said that in the body of my
yeah. If either of you had credentials, you wouldn't be debating on my channel. You'd be on an actual TV show or something. This is question from Ox. Brainbug, did spiders come to Earth on a meteor?
No, and neither did cephalopods. Really.
And yeah, we're done. We've got to the end of the questions. We did it in 71 minutes. We got the whole thing done. I think we did quite well. I did quite well. I think that was a very good discussion. Have any of you anything that you would like to add or say, or yeah, we could probably take maybe the next 3 questions to get in will get answered as long as they're quick, short, and to the point. And after that, we will then move on to the after party. Brian, have you anything you would like to say? Otangelo, have you anything you'd like to say after?
Well, I appreciate you hosting this MathPig. This is a discussion that's been a long time coming. Otangelo's been every time we start getting into it in a live chat, he's like, "Let's do a conversation," and we finally put it on the calendar. So I'm glad we were able to sit down and do this. I've never been in a formal debate. Well, I shouldn't say never been in a formal debate. I debated in high school, but that's a million years ago for me. So anyway, so I appreciate you coming in. I'm going to be on TART next week. I don't know if we settled on a day. It's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday, but I'll get you more details. And I'm doing the Zeitgeist thing with your friendly neighborhood atheist. So we're gonna do the movie review like we did with the Matt Powell movie. So that should be fun. So subscribe to the Hive. We have this stuff. We have lots of science stuff. We have bug stuff. If you like bugs, if you hate bugs and you just want to learn about them, to learn how to destroy them like Dave does, subscribe to the Hive. Subscribe to the Brainbug YouTube channel. Go ahead, Otangelo.
If I can just say,
Yes.
I got to the end of the list of questions. Dave and Manda were very nicely helping me out, although I did shout down a time and say no more questions will be accepted after that. So if any questions were asked after that, they probably were not posted in the live chat because we had so many. So either you can repost it very, very quickly and we'll get through, as I said, 2 or 3 questions. Anything after that, everybody needs to go over to the after party. And Otangelo, if you would like to say anything.
Yes, I thank you too, MathPig, for hosting this conversation or debate. It has been fun. I have 2 channels on YouTube. One is Intelligent Design Academy. The second one is The God Talk. Have a look. I have also a virtual library. Maybe you can put the link in the description afterwards.
Otangelo, I have now added you to the bot. If you go apostrophe and your name, it will automatically post your link to your channel. Right, scrolling back up here, we have a question. Question from Titan. Aha, yeah, I'm not going to say your next bit. How does Otangelo coherently explain his belief in the truth of the Shroud of Turin? That's not a 1-sentence answer. Fuck's sake.
That'll be the after party thing. Otangelo, are you coming to the after party? You're welcome to.
Yeah, I can come, but if you want, I can put the link. There is a lot of information regards of the shroud, of the age, and everything else, and you can look it up.
I will organize for you and Titan to have a conversation. That's what we'll do. If you want to, Otangelo, we can organize you and Titan having a conversation. Next question then.
Sure. I'm up for it.
Carlton wants to know what the aquariums are behind you. That's his entire channel, Carlton. Go and sub. Question from the Maverick. Belief in divine justice gives additional incentive for morality and deference from morality, so why not promote it? I think that's more of a statement. Question from John Rapp. Is it not more logical that man created God?
Yes, I think that's more logical.
Well, I don't think so, because then what created us?
And everybody wants to know Titan who? Titan, big planet up in the sky. So, other than that, if
Titan's a moon.
Pardon?
Titan's a moon.
Yeah, but the other bit that it's at the end that I won't say if I say conjunction is a
Do you all say it that way? We say Uranus.
You can say whatever you want, but I refuse to live stream say that man's full name. Will not say it. Other than that, if I can do a shout out again for everybody that has contributed to the channel, everybody that's came here tonight, really, really big help. Tomorrow, yeah, fuck off. No, I'm not. Tomorrow we are live streaming the landing of the Mars rover. That will be at 7:30 my time. That will be at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have a wee bit of fancy production. Brian got a wee in luck tonight. It should be fun. Yeah. It should be fun. The idea is the actual landing goes from 7:15 my time to 9:30. We will be streaming for all of it, but while the boring stuff is happening, we are going to go through why the lander is going there, what's the information. We will be going through the NASA website itself and getting all the information on and sharing it with everybody on the actual rover that's landing. So that's tomorrow. Brian, have you anything else going on?
I'll be doing something Saturday, I'm sure. So I moved in Wuhan. I moved my time slot up just so I could try to participate in one of your trivia games Saturday. So we'll see about that too. But
question slipped in from John. Brian, are you worried at all that you may suffer any long-term brain damage from this interaction?
I've been interacting with Otangelo for almost a year now, and I haven't had any results yet, so I think we're good. I think we'll be all right.
Otangelo, have you anything you would like to share or shout about?
No, I think it's
just the channel in general.
Okay.
Yep. Perfect. So other than that, right, yes, everybody, link for the description, or link is in the description for the after party. It will be on Brian's channel. Give us at least 10-15 minutes. When you get there, it'll probably say that we're 45 minutes late, but it doesn't matter. Just ignore it.
Well, I already got the loading screen up over there, so people know we're still doing it. It's
perfect. See, brilliant. Right. So, everybody, we will see you over on Brian's channel. And other than that, everybody, again, thank you very much for coming. We shall all see you over on Brian's. And if I can get my deck board to work, we will mute everybody and we will run the outro. Bye.